lovely sunshines, and welcome back to hashtag a shy moment. Talk to me Tuesday, Shy's book corner. I don't know why I said it like that, but maybe we should make a jingle. What is absolutely insane is that we are halfway through 2023. Like, is that not absolutely crazy to y'all? We are 6 months already into this year, and we only have 6 months left until 2024. Time goes by so quickly. So for today's video, I wanted to tell y'all what my top 5 books are that I have read so far. Now, I don't even know what number of books I am at this point in the year. However, I know that it is way more than last year. Last year I set the goal of reading 12 books. That's 1 book a month. And I only read 3, y'all. I can't even talk about it because why did I not read more? The criteria for me on why I chose these 5 books, obviously this is all going to be subjective because what's relatable to me might not be relatable for y'all. But I based my 5 on what I thought was extremely relatable, how quickly I read it in the sense of was it something that I did not want to put down and I was upset every time I had to step away from it, / how long did it take me to read it? Because most of these books I think I finished in probably a day or 2 because I just loved them so much. Third criteria, and this one is challenging but not at the same time. If I cry reading it, I just know that I loved it so much. Now, yes, if you've been here for some time, you know that I cry about a very, very long list of different things. However, in reading, it's a different kind of cry for me because it means that it touched my heart in ways that other things like would not. Number 4 is if I felt inspired to continue my journey as a poet, author, and writer. And for that one, writing is such a skill and not everyone is a good writer. That's just the reality of it. So for me is if reading the work that these authors put in, every word chosen for a very specific reason, chosen to move mountains for you in the sense of dragging you into this book, making you feel like you're there, and taking the time to edit it to what they believe to be perfection. So if it inspires me to continue my journey in this writing, author, poet world, then it did its job. So my top 5 are in no particular order. These are just the ones that I can't stop thinking about even after reading a ton. And I am interested to know if these remain my top 5 by the end of this year. But yeah, Eliza Starts a Rumor by Jane Rosen. I finished this book, I kid you not, in 1 day. Eliza Starts a Rumor is told by 4 different people, and each person is different in their own kind of storyline, but they're all connected and they all end up becoming friends. Eliza suffers from, I believe, I might be saying this wrong, but agoraphobia, which is an anxiety disorder to the point where like you cannot leave your house because there are so many things that trigger you. I am probably not explaining that correctly, so please look down below at the actual definition of it. So with that being said, she has this blog, this Facebook like kind of page where she talks about what's going on in her community, updates about that kind of stuff. And so while she's at the supermarket, there's 2 younger women who are talking about how her page, not knowing that it's her who's standing behind them, her page is so, outdated, and they're checking out this new kind of page where it's more drama, blah, blah, blah. So feeling threatened by that, Eliza creates a rumor about her neighbor who just moved in across the street, saying that she believes that the wife is having an affair. Now, the next person, Olivia, believes that the rumor that Eliza is talking about is about her husband. She's a new young mom. Her husband works a lot. She is kind of just figuring out, being a mom, dealing with her husband, this, that, and the third, and she thinks that the scandal is about her. In comes Allison Lee, who is a single mother, had this badass career as a lawyer, and is now taking a step back to actually mother her child. And she's, conflicted between what that looks like and whatnot. So she befriends Olivia, and she tries to help solve whether or not it is actually Olivia's husband who is in this affair. Then we have Amanda, who is Eliza's best friend, who moved away to California, married some big shot, and this big shot is wrapped up in a very serious allegation. And so she's super unhappy. She moves back home for some time to separate herself from all that drama. She's not only dealing with her own stuff, but she's now also trying to figure out whether or not Olivia's husband is the one who's involved in the scandal. So all 4 of these people are connected like that. Then you have a 5th player named Jackie, and I'm just gonna leave it at that. Jackie is not who you expect Jackie to be, and in and of itself, that right there is enough to want to keep you reading. This book is becoming a visual, meaning I don't know if it's a series or if it's a movie, but either way, it's going to be incredible. So good. The next book I have is In 5 Years. I already said this when I did the video about when I first finished it. I finished this in I think a day, and I cried. And what was beautiful about this book is not only that it was relatable, but that if you're lucky, I don't actually believe in luck. So if you are blessed enough to forge a relationship with someone who, in a sense, is your soulmate in life, not necessarily romantically, but is someone who is so deeply rooted and deeply connected to you, then you need to hold on to that. And for me, this book really reminded me of a few of my best friends who I will be devastated once we are no longer living in the same time frame of life. And for this book to touch on that, what it means to have a soulmate and a partner you're not romantically involved in, is incredible. For the person, Danny is the main character, to have life so meticulously mapped out is relatable for me. And then to know that just because you have your life mapped doesn't mean that that's how it's going to end up. So letting go of so much control, it was just beautiful. I still, and I said this when I did the review the first time, understand why this was people's first pick for a book to read and why it's on their to be read list and why it's so popular. It's so beautifully written. Another super popular one, but definitely did make my top 5 because the suspense was unreal, was The Housemaid. Y'all, I said it once, I'll say it again. Page Turner. Plot twist that you might have picked up on if, you're really good at detective work. But for the rest of us, an amazing twist. This book actually also had controversy about it because some people said that it reminded them of this other book where things might have been similar as far as the plot line and whatnot goes. I don't know what book that was, so I'm not going to dive into that one because that could probably be like a whole other separate video. This is a series book. I can't wait to read the next one by her. I think that Frida is an amazing writer. Amazing because she really draws you in, she hooks you, and then she keeps you there until the last page. The suspense of it was amazing. I'll just leave it at that. This one I also thought did a great job at touching, and this might not have been intentional, it might not have been like the main point of the book, but touching on mental health and why people are how they are. And I'm gonna leave it at that. But I will say that there is a character in this book where you are like, why? And why do you behave this way? And what made you that way? And you do find out about that particular character, why. You all had to know, if you've watched these videos of mine, you had to know that the loose ends list was going to make the list of my top 5. I still think about this book every day. This one, for those of you who did not watch my video, my recap of what I read, the loose ends list is about a girl named Maddie who is so close with her grandmother who's dying of cancer, and her grandma springs upon the family. And instead of everyone being sad, she decides to take a summer-long cruise with her family who wanted to go and see the wonders of the world. And at the end of their trip, she tells them that she's ready to go, and they release her soul into the ocean, and that is it. And reading this several months after my best friend, my grandmother, passed away, pulled out my heartstrings, of course. And I say of course because leave it to me to to pick a book about grandmother-granddaughter relationships where the grandma leaves at the end, and I cried so much reading this. I thought I wasn't going to be able to get through it because it reminded me so much of her. However, it in a weird way, I felt like was a sign from my grandmother telling me that everything is okay and that she's always going to be with me even if she's not physically here. So, loose ends list. I definitely 1,000,000% recommend adding to your list. The last book that I read, y'all, and I'm taking such a long time to tell you because I don't think I talked about this book in any of my booktube videos. This book was everything to me. I still think about it and I want to be a writer as great as Hazel Hayes is, but out of love. First of all, this book, you don't know what the main character's name is. And it's purposeful, I think, that you don't know. Which I think is, like, amazing. And to go the entire book being, like, not once thinking about, oh, actually, I don't know what their name is. Because it's so well written. Well written in the sense of that the narrator just pulls you in, that you're so invested in her story. Like, you don't even care that you don't know what her name is. Out of Love is a reverse romantic novel. Reverse because instead of falling in love, it's exactly what the title says. You're falling out of love. So it takes you through this romantic story of two individuals who are madly in love, and it starts at the beginning with them breaking up, and the entire book goes back in time to tell you what led up to them breaking up. So the last chapter is actually when they first met, the first chapter being their last chapter. It's beautifully written. And Hazel Hayes, what I loved about reading her biography on the back of the book, she actually focuses on horror, and to her, love is the most horrendous and horror-filling thing that people do. And I love that because you can kind of see that in this book. The other thing I loved about this book, did I cry 1,000,000%? This was probably the longest book that I had in that collection, or in my top 5 books, a little bit more than 400 pages. But what I loved about this is it touched on mental health. And as a mental health advocate, y'all already knew. Y'all should have already known that of course I would have loved this book. So I recommend it if you're someone who does like romance novels, but want like a different twist and you don't want something predictable, this is going to be that book for you. And I think it's also going to be for you if you enjoy reading about mental health and relating to characters who are struggling with mental health. The mental health things that she talks about are similar to the struggles that I have too, so that it was easy for me to place my feet in her shoes and go along with her through this story, because I thought that she was, it's kind of cheesy, but I really felt like I was her. So y'all, it is June. These were my top 5 reads for the year so far, my top 5-star, all 5-star reads. Like I mentioned, I'm really excited to see if this changes as I read more in the next 6 months or so. But as always, thank you for tuning in to another episode of A Shy Moment. Talk to me Tuesdays, a book corner. If you are coming back tomorrow to talk to me about my life updates and whatnot, I will see you then. But if not, I'll catch you on the next episode. Love you, sunshine, oodles and noodles.